So welcome to episode 4 of this Empire Fair podcast, Forest Beyond the Tracks. This time we're going to talk all about the early days, how we met, and the recording of the Red Light EP.
We'll get lost in the forest beyond the trees.
So guys, just checking in, what have you guys been keeping busy with? Now we're on lockdown and we're all staying inside and doing what we can. Jack, what have you been up to?
I have been forming an unhealthy obsession with 2 Point Hospital, which for older listeners is a classic remake of Theme Hospital. Apart from that, not a lot.
And Tom?
Well, apart from the really boring stuff like cleaning stuff that has been neglected for many, many years, I have managed to binge 5 seasons of Line of Duty, which has been welcomed because now I understand why Ted Hastings is loved so much. If he fails in his task of bringing down corrupt police officers, none of us stand a chance.
Neil, what have you been up to?
Very little, really. I think the biggest challenge for me has just been trying to keep a routine and trying to keep reasons to kind of get up and get dressed and stuff. So I've been exercising every morning, which has been a real slog, but it's helped me kind of structure my days. Other than that, just a lot of Netflix. I think everybody in the country is just powering through Netflix and Disney Plus, and I'm no different.
Yeah, we must have completed Netflix by now. Darren?
With me, I actually go to work, as in to the office, but I'm not working from home, so they got us slogging in. Jacqueline is living with me. People that don't know me, Jacqueline's my girlfriend.
Didn't you just have dinner?
I did. I made I don't know what they're called. I just saw it on Instagram. It was one of those like videos where someone's just making something really quickly, and I thought that looks nice, so I thought I'd give it a go. Yeah, it didn't turn out great. About 15 minutes before we kind of hit the record button, I was running up and down Southbourne High Street trying to find 2 bloody eggs. So I ran to the local office, one stop, sorry. No eggs. Ran to the BP station, little mini mart, nothing. Tesco, nothing. Sainsbury's, nothing. And as I was on the way back, I saw the local Chinese open. I thought, they do egg fried rice. They have to have eggs. So I went in there, and the lady was like, yeah, what do you want? I was like, this is very unusual. Do you have 2 eggs? And she was like, 2 eggs? Just eggs? I was like, yeah, I know. Just go and ask the boys out the back if they got any eggs. And yeah, and then I don't know if she said, do you have 2 eggs to the people out the bag, but it was in like Chinese, I think. And they just all started bursting out laughing. And I was like, oh God, good one. But I really needed these eggs. And yeah, she gave me 2 eggs. So big shout out to Harmony Chinese, Southbourne High School.
Nice.
Did they charge you? Did they charge you?
No, I had my debit card up already. I was like, please, I would have paid £2, £1 per egg. I'm so desperate for eggs. Yeah, so very nice people.
I'm going there tomorrow to get some. I think get 2 free eggs. Everybody, get down there.
Well, this podcast will hit the millions.
There's going to be a queue outside their poor shop tomorrow. People with empty egg boxes.
I don't know about you guys, but since we started doing these podcast recordings, I've been going back and listening to the old recordings and the live recordings and going back through the archives and stuff. And Tom was good enough to find out recordings from a gig we did in Oxford, Wantage the Swan, and where we performed Killing Time. And we've got a recording of a song, very deep cut, called Killing Time. I think it's one of the best things we've ever done.
I think it's one of the best songs we've ever done. It's just not a live song.
Yeah, I think it was a song we wrote. It feels like we wrote it before we were ready for it. Almost, we were too.
It was ahead of its time.
Well, I'm not saying the song was ahead of its time. I think we were not up to its time.
Premature.
A bit like Jane Eyre.
Yeah, we've got to grow into it. It's like your nose. Sometimes you've got to grow into that.
Some people are born into it.
Nose.
Welcome to the Empire Fair Eggs and Noses podcast.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Okay,
maybe
so-
we'll whip that out one day. I mean, the song, and give it another spin on the next episode.
Waiting for that something, but it will never come. Always leads to nothing. Nothing ever gets done.
Okay, so this episode is all about the early days. So going all the way back to as early as it begins. Can you remember what first got you excited by music? Was there a certain album? Was it a gig? Was it seeing someone on Top of the Pops? What got you first excited by music, Jack?
My earliest memory of getting into music, it's a bit of a guilty pleasure, but you can't deny they can write hit after hit. It was probably ABBA.
Nothing wrong with ABBA.
I think my old man gave me a tape, or he played it, and I was like, "Ooh." And he also used to play some of the Beatles stuff as well. Although I'm sort of not really a massive Beatlehead fan, but yeah, I mean, my musical tastes vary from year to year. I can remember being at one point really big into like David Gray and like that singer-songwriter sort of sound, and then I become like into sort of being in a band and like very much into like Red Hot Chili Peppers. I mean, they're just a few that sort of stand out in my mind of being like really excited about wanting to try and create something. So,
Tom?
I used to watch Top of the Pops every week when I was a kid. I loved it every Friday night. I loved pop charts. I grew up on pop music, a lot of it. My mum was very heavily into 60s music as well, so a lot of that accessible to me to play and listen to. But I distinctly remember getting quite excited about Bee Gees and the Beach Boys when I was younger. Maybe I thought I was a Beach Boy because I'm from Bournemouth, and maybe I just thought that was a nice little thing. But I did like the music as well. I just genuinely think that those harmonies are just unparalleled in both bands. Really, it's the just incredible musicianship and writing of just pop hits, and just loved it. Yeah,
that was probably my first proper gig that I went to see was Beach Boys. I think I was about 10. Stepdad took me and my brother and granddad up to Birmingham to see Beach Boys with Brian Wilson in the lineup. And yeah, that was one of my earliest memories of getting excited about music and going to gigs and stuff was Beach Boys. And like I say, the musicianship that goes into those songs is incredible, and what they did both live and in the studio was incredible. Some of the production on their songs, just massive sound, and Brian Wilson was a genius. He's just absolute genius in the studio and live. Incredible musician. Neil, what about you?
See, I don't really have a specific memory that comes back when I think about what really got me excited about music. I think one of the things that I really remember from my childhood involving music was Sunday dinners with my family. So we would always be listening to the top 40, the UK top 40 on the radio. But then just when it was getting to near the top of the chart was about the time that we were having dinner. And then when we had Sunday dinner, my dad would put his music on, and he always, more often than not, would put on Sgt. Pepper, the Beatles. And I remember me and my brother at the time listening to it and saying, "Oh, this is old man music. This is dad music. What rubbish!" And then I listen back to it all now, and I just think we were idiots. Like I'm not a particularly big Beatles fan either, but listening back to that album, I remember that so clearly. Like not even willing to try and listen to it, just dismissing it because it was my dad's music. So I really distinctly remember that, and then. Trying to remember what the kind of the first CDs and things like that I bought. I remember the first cassette that I ever bought, and it was the single Bryan Adams and Melanie C, "Baby When You're Gone." That was the first cassette I ever bought.
classic.
that's a blinding pop song. That outro.
I remember the video as well.
I don't remember the video.
It was like a cross section of a house, and they were all walking around in separate rooms. I think I don't know.
Just watched it earlier.
Yeah.
So Darren, moving right along.
I'm very similar with you, Neil. So I kind of listen to what my dad would listen to, and at the same time, just think, what is this? This is just dad music. So my dad would listen to a lot of Dire Straits, Pink Floyd, which is bands that that I now love. I've always had a set of headphones in my ears, or well, I say it was probably overhead ones back then, like the massive Alba ones that you could like get like a 3.5 jack, and you have to plug it into like your hi-fi
Your
system.
Walkman.
Yeah, well, it was before Walkman. It was one of those like vinyl player cassette decks.
How old are you?
All you need
He's
to-
the youngest member of the band, isn't he? Well,
We're talking the 90s, eh?
Did you have to wind it with a hand?
With a winch.
First cassette I ever brought was actually the Power Rangers theme tune.
Oh,
And it was-
what?
it
That is a
released
great choice.
Could you
in
could you remind us how it went, Darren? Because I've forgotten.
Oh yeah, go Power Rangers, do 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 do, something like that. I don't know what the B side was. It's probably just the same song, probably. But yeah, so as I was saying, like I kind of just listened to what my dad would listen to when I was younger. And but in regards to developing my own taste, I would say that was when I was kind of like maybe becoming a teenager. I went straight into that kind of like skating scene, so I did BMX. So it would be a lot of that kind of punk stuff like Green Day, Sum 41. But I also did have my poppy side. There was a music channel called The Box. And I used to listen to a lot of that, and there was Five on there, S Club 7, Cher,
Oh, Jesus.
all of that. Yeah,
mhm.
so that's about it. Just cut all
Comprehensive,
that
thank
out.
you.
Just cut all of that out.
Ah, it's on now.
Darren,
Yeah.
nothing. Right,
Yeah.
next.
Well, we're learning a lot of stuff about each other. We're only a few minutes in. I'm probably going to learn a lot in this episode as well, because now we're going to talk about the very early days before I joined and go back to the original lineup, which was called Echo. Before it was Empire Fair, it's called Echo. Tom, do you want to talk us through this? Because it began with you and Darren, didn't it?
It was actually someone else who we kind of have to hold our hands up and give a bit of credit to, which is a good friend of all of ours called Grant Barrett, who I go way back with. And I say way back, I mean, since we were 5 or 6, we've been friends. So early 90s. Fast forward to our early 20s, and we were both coming out of uni. We started both getting more into music and sort of meeting up to do a few sort of jam sessions and sort of play a few Oasis covers, just in each other's sort of bedrooms and houses, just for a bit of fun. And we just enjoyed it quite a bit. So things progressed to another level where we was looking for other band members. We can get to a stage where we can play with a drummer and other guitarists. To cut a long story short, we managed to find 2 other members. I think this is around about sort of spring, early summer 2009, who were Neil and Darren, who came and joined us along with Darren's brother, the kind of initial period of when Echo was formed, our former band. And this, with a few other band member changes, one guitarist out, another guitarist in, being Jack, sort of early 2010, I believe. And another year it was before the 5 of us all came together in early 2011. So this is not like a too of an exciting story. I wish it was more exciting than us meeting either through internet ads or whatever it was, ads in music shops and things. We're not like childhood friends. We never knew each other before the music. We never hung out each other just as friends or really went to uni together. But I like to think of us as not just like a bunch of odd ones out and rejects. We're a bit more like the Hurricanes. You remember that TV show?
About the
Where,
football team, wasn't it?
Football team. Yeah.
The football team, where each of them are like from around the world, but they've all got like a special skill. I'm not sure what our special skills are. I hope it's music related. But anyway, we all came together. Grant sadly departed the band, and then Matt joined us, as I said, in February 2011, and then Empire Fair was born from that point on.
I kind of see it more as like Captain Planet and the Planeteers.
How many was in that? 6 of them, wasn't there? Or was there 5?
If you count Captain Planet, I think there might have been 6.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Me neither.
Google
There
it.
you go.
It's got a great intro.
Darren, do you know that one?
What's that?
Captain Planet.
No. I was still thinking about Hurricane. I was like, what's that? I'm one behind. All right.
As far as I remember, I answered an ad on Gumtree, and I think I was talking to Jack in those
Yep.
initial emails.
Yep.
And from what I remember, we organised to meet up in Wetherspoons in Bournemouth. That's right, isn't it?
The Square and no, not Square and Compass. Moon in the Square.
Moon in the Square.
Yep. And yeah, I think we had a few drinks, didn't we?
I think it was a
And
school
that's-
night as well.
It was like a Wednesday night, I think.
Yeah, and me living in Poole, I had to sort of get the bus over. Like, it takes me about half hour. And it was a Wednesday night. We thought, right, we thought middle of Bournemouth, it'll be easy for everybody to get to. And we had no idea what you looked like, so we said we'll wait by the fireplace. Like there's a table there.
Very
And whenever
romantic.
Oh yeah, we were holding hands underneath the table.
Yeah.
And every time the door opened, we were like, "Is that him? No. Is that him? Oh no." And I think you actually did walk in, sort of looked at us, but went straight to the bar, and we were like, "Oh, it's not him." And then you come over with your pint and just slammed it down and go, "Hi, I'm Matt."
Yeah,
And
it was
then,
just me and you, Jack, wasn't it? And I distinctly, I don't remember anything that we talked about, but I just remember that we commented that Matt had held his own drinking, so he was definitely good enough to join the band.
Yeah, it was about 5 or 6 pints on a Wednesday night. Pretty sure he had a job at the time. So I was like, "Hey, he's all right in my book."
No, I think it's probably fair to say that sometimes I come across as quite a quiet, shy person, quite introvert. Although on stage I tend to come out of my shell a bit more. I remember trying to convince you guys that I'll be all right and confident enough on stage. And at the time I was in various, I'm not sure how this is going to come across. I was in various burlesque shows.
Oh Jesus!
I
remember.
Yeah, I remember
And
that.
I was trying to convince you guys that I was going to be all right on stage, and I was like, well, I'm in burlesque shows. Like, actually, I've got one coming up in Bournemouth. Come along and have a laugh. And I think a couple of you guys came along to it. Didn't you? I remember Darren being there. I think Darren was there looking very confused about all these ladies taking their clothes off on stage.
I'm still confused now. I don't remember being there.
I remember you. I remember you sending a photo of Matt, and you go, "Is this our new guitarist?" We're like, "Yeah, that's him."
So that leads us on to the first rehearsals in Southbourne, which
Yes.
aptly was underneath a pole dancing, purely coincidental, under a pole dancing studio, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. It was. I think that's all it was. I'm not sure if it was anything in the daytime. I'm sure Tom could fill us in, but as far as I remember, yes, you go into this place. It was just like a high street shop entrance. There's this underfloor like hatch that you just pull up, and you go down in the basement, and there's the rehearsal room. So you wouldn't know it was there. How many people probably walk past that unknowingly, knowing there's a practice room beneath their feet?
How big was that room, Darren? It was quite small from what I remember, wasn't it?
It was pretty small, dingy, damp, mess.
Got so hot, didn't it?
Oh god, it did. Yeah, I remember the trap door smashed on my head.
Yeah,
That-
I remember that. You sort
That
of
really hurt.
went into a coma for a few days.
I was like, "Don't cry in front of the boys." You're right. I'm fine.
Yeah, I'm just going to get some air. Just
so Matt-
run home.
So Matt, when you joined us for that first session, then in this rehearsal room under a pole dancing practice room, what did you think? Did you think that was? I found my home. I found it, my calling. How did it go? Do you remember?
I mean, the actual room itself, it felt like, despite, put the music aside, it felt like a really punk rock room to play in because it was so small, it was sweaty, there was unmentionable bodily fluids running down the walls. It was just a horrible, grimy, grotty place, and that part of it felt quite cool. Like I'd arrived and it sort of clicked into place. Like this is where good music should be made. So yeah, because it was so small and so sweaty, you got to know each other very intimately, very quickly. But yeah, it felt right going into this room with these random strangers and writing these songs, and it seemed like a good place to do it.
What I will add is that from Echo to Empire Fair, we only brought one other song across with us. So essentially, when you joined, we were all writing new stuff straight off the bat. So it was quite a new experience for us as well.
One of the things that I remember from that time as well is that when we were Echo, it was between Grant and Tom. Obviously, put the band together, but Grant was very much like the leader, the driving force that made a lot of decisions and took us forward in the directions that we were going. So when he left, that kind of left a void in that responsibility. So between us all as kind of a collaboration, we kind of had to figure that bit out. So kind of everything was new, not just the music, but how we were going about it, the band name, and what we were going to be as a band was all kind of in front of us to be decided on.
How did we come about with Empire Fair?
I remember us going from that tiny practice room in Southbourne. I remember us going to the pub opposite with to drop the keys off, because that's where we left the keys, and we sat in there and we had a drink. And that's quite often we would have like a band meeting afterwards to go over these things in the early stages, what band names we were thinking about, what logos, what everything like that. And I remember one of those times we sat and we decided that we wanted to kind of come up with a name that had kind of conflicting points or conflicting origins. And so we made the decision that we were going to have a two-word band name, one word being very positive and very grand, and the other being a negative a word or a negative connotation. So we wrote lists on both columns and essentially paired things up until we found something that we really liked. So when we got to Empire Fair, the feeling and the discussion was that an empire is just that, something that's very grand and proud, and an affair is very much the opposite. So we thought that worked quite well. And I've got really distinct memories of, once we decided on that name, working out what the band kind of the logo was going to be and what the fonts were. And Tom did dozens of different designs on A4 bits of paper, and we looked and we made ticks and crosses on them all.
I remember that night as well, where we sort of come up with the name and Tom had all these logos. Some bloke in the pub came over, goes, he was a right like geezer. He goes, "All right, lads, what you doing? What you got there?" He goes, "What's all this then? What's all this?" We're like, "Oh yeah, just deciding the band name and the logo." He goes, "Empire Fair." He's like, "Oh, shit name, mate. It'll never stick. You got something, something a bit more, like a word, like a one-word thing." And he went, "Yeah, shit name," and walked off. But cheers, mate.
He said, you shouldn't call it Empire Fair. You should call it Empire Fair. He said, that's better. Empire Fair. And I was like, no, see you later.
He was a mod, wasn't he? He had like the mod haircut and probably had a scooter outside as well.
Probably had a Paul Weller CD in his pocket.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. Let's get that clear. So yeah, the EP name, Red Light, was, from my memory, was pretty much two reasons. One was because we were pressing the red light on the recording desk for the first time, so we were being recorded on record. Mm-hmm. And then the second reason was a bit of is it weird? I don't know, it's weird. I had this old bedside lamp from when I was a boy, and I think Jack or someone suggested, "Oh, we need something to get a bit of an atmosphere when we're down in our little basement rehearsal room." I was like, "I got a good idea. I'll bring this light down," and just to make it a bit weirder, I had a red light bulb, or a few of them, lying around the house for no apparent reason. so I thought I would put that in this little light and have that. So we were playing in the room just with this red light on, and
we used to turn all the other lights off.
Yeah, and it became like this running. Sort of running theme or it was just like this era. It was like what we did. It was just to get us in the music mode, the right sort of frame of mind, and it just felt right. It felt it suited the name of the EP, because that's where what we were doing.
And it became the unofficial sixth member and joined us on stage, Lily, every night we played. The Red Light.
It did, yeah. It started very much. That was what started our trend of kind of almost like stage theatre, decorating the stage. So later we ended up using kind of coloured rope lighting and everything like that. So the red light, Tom's bedroom lamp, is what started that all off.
Mm-hmm. It's also quite important to note that this stage, like some gigs, it was easier to see than others because it was quite a small lamp. It's not like, you know, a floor standing thing. Is a small bedside lamp. So when we were doing the bigger gigs, it was just like hidden somewhere at the back and you could barely see it. But the smaller gigs, it was more prominent. But yeah, it was this tiny little lamp.
Yeah, and by some miracle, it has just about survived. Well, it did survive, at least up until the Rewind the Clocks gig. It broke many times on the road. I mean, shattered. The ceramic base of it broke, and I had to get some super glue. Or I think I gave it to Jack because he broke it once, and he had to fix it for me. But the good news is we managed to get it to keep working for years upon years, and took it pretty much everywhere we went. It just sat on someone's amp in the corner somewhere, and it was just like our little mascot almost that we just took around with us. And it makes a nice appearance at the Rewind the Clocks gig, and in the documentary you'll see it ties everything, the sort of continuation of time, together very nicely.
Wasn't there somebody's blood on it? Did someone cut their hand on it?
Yes, there was. I can't remember whose it
I
was.
thought it was yours, Jack.
I remember.
It was at the Athelston.
Yeah, I don't remember.
That's where it broke, and somebody cut their hand on it. So it still has somebody's a band member's blood on it, and it's all been kind of stitched back together.
I don't think I ever played the Athelston sober, so it could have been me.
If you were lucky enough to get your hands on one of the CDs, the actual CD itself, what was printed on it was a close-up photograph of the red light bulb. So if you've got that, you're one of very lucky few people in the country, in the world, to have a copy of that.
Or we conjure into buying one.
But the artwork itself, no guesses to who is on the front cover. For some reason, I thought it'd be a good idea to paint the words "red light" on my chest and pose from many pictures, because I thought that was the right thing to do at the time and channeling the energy of the record. And if you've got the CD copy as well, you would see how fully committed I was to this paint idea. Because if you flip it over, you'll see that the names of the tracks are also painted on my back, and that is on the back of the CD. So that was
actually painted on. That's not just photoshopped on.
No, that was proper
Wow.
like black paint that I found in my parents' garage. I don't know what they used it for previously. Probably some like wrought iron gates, because it did take a bit of time to get off my skin. But once you're committed to a project, you fully commit. That's what I believe, and the rest is history.
One of the things that I thought affected the early sound of those songs was we did these acoustic writing sessions around Neil's house, and I think that affected the sound. And those early songs are different to what the later songs are because of those acoustic writing sessions. They're quite chord based, and we approached them in that way. And then once we had the general basis of those songs, we took them to the practice room and we played them as a full band and got loud that way.
Yeah, definitely.
We've got some great sort of early home demos of those as well. Some are in the vault, which are got some great vocals. I think, Neil, we did it in your bedroom, like Matt was saying, at your old house, and a microphone attached to a door. Was that right? Singing
We did,
Heart
yeah.
Out?
We didn't have any equipment. We had, I think we had a couple of microphones, no microphone stands or anything. So I remember, we wrapped the microphone cord around the corner of my bedroom door and I gaffer taped it down.
Yeah.
And that's how we recorded the vocals, me singing into my door frame.
Yeah, and we just went round to each other's houses, didn't we? Went round Darren's house to record his drums.
At the time,
Maybe.
Darren was living in a block of flats.
Yeah, paper thin walls. I don't know how the neighbours put up with it for so long. I remember my mum every now and then would say, I'm coming into the road and I can hear your drums. And I'm just like, oh, cool. Like, I'm not going to believe. If you said that to me now, I'll be like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like, I'll go and apologize. But then I was just like, totally oblivious to like how annoying it must have been. Like, and I'm not talking like, a cheap drum set. I'm talking like a drum set that was made out of oak, so it was really boomy. It was loud as fuck. And I used to play with the window open. Like, I'm sure neighbours would knock on the door, but I just couldn't hear them. I was just playing
Yeah.
away. And I think back now, just how did I get away with that?
But yeah, it was recorded on a very, very basic digital recording thing that I had, but I had no idea what I was doing with. It was literally just a case of press record and hope for the best. And
Well,
it
because
was all right. It worked.
You've had so much confidence, though. I never doubt. I didn't even have a clue that you had no idea what you were doing.
yeah, because you had one, I thought, oh, he knows what he's doing. Oh, I won't touch anything. Let Matt touch it all.
So we had this small bank of songs. We started to get a couple gigs from these very, very rough recordings. And then at some point, we obviously made the conscious decision to record properly. I can't really remember how that came about. Wasn't it one of Darren's friends through Lloyd and then Harrison?
Yeah, so we mentioned Lloyd in a previous podcast. So Lloyd's filled in for me in the old fire station gig. So yeah, he had a band that he was recording with, and someone in that band, they owned like a studio out in the New Milton somewhere, like the New Forest. Yeah, like a little hut in there. So I think I just got in contact with him.
I mean, full respect to Harrison, whose studio it was. It was a shed, wasn't it?
Yeah, the bottom of his garden. It was a shed in the countryside next to
nice,
a
though,
caravan. It was nice.
Yeah, he had all the gear.
Had a games console in there. Yeah, you had like a
With a
TV.
caravan next door.
What every good studio needs is a caravan right next door.
When we say caravan, it is a derelict caravan. I think the windows have been put through, like the roof's half not there, and like the doors hanging off. We come out recording one day, and this caravan's in the middle of a field. On top of the caravan, sat on a bar stool, just sat there on his own in the middle of the field, and
Taking in the surroundings, trying to inspiration for the next drum part.
I think we came out, not a word was said, and you just sort of stuck your thumb up like it was like a normal thing.
There's a photo of that somewhere.
Yeah, you just.
Morning.
Yeah, I mean, it was a nice little shed, but one of my memories of it was that in the background of the vocals, we could hear birds singing along. Probably not singing along, but you could.
Oh.
It might have been edited out, but there was definitely birds in the background. So it wasn't particularly soundproofed or sound treated.
I distinctly remember we had to go over and do quite a lot of guide tracks, and it was sort of quite sporadic. It was like an afternoon here or a full day there. Obviously you do your drums, bass, guitars, vocals, and it seemed quite a long process for what we got. I mean, obviously we were working to a timetable on what we could do outside of our jobs and what Harrison could do, but sometimes we would drive over there just to lay down 2 guitar parts, then then come back a following week later. So it was quite difficult to get a feel for those songs as a whole, I thought.
Yeah, very stop-start, wasn't it?
Certainly for me, I'm pretty sure it's for you guys as well. It was my first experience doing any kind of live recording like that. So I had no idea what to expect. I had no idea what was normal, what was abnormal, how long things should take. So we were just kind of figuring it out as we were going along, I guess, weren't we?
One of my biggest memories when we were recording Red Light was I had broken my finger. I don't know if you guys remember this.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I played football and I was in goal, and the ball hit my middle finger on my left hand at the wrong place, basically straight on the end of it, and dislodged a bit of bone in my finger, which I didn't realise until far too long after the incident happened. So I was carrying on playing bass with everybody, like when we were practicing these songs and doing these demos, and it was just making it worse and worse and worse. And then when we came to record it, by then I'd been to a doctor, and they'd said, right, we're going to you're going to have surgery on it, but we can only book you in a month's time. So I think that put a bit of a clock on the fact we had to record the EP by a certain time, because I couldn't record or play any bass for something like a month to 6 weeks after I'd had this surgery. So I just remember the whole recording process when we were doing it with Harrison. My middle finger on my left hand was killing me, and I couldn't use it playing any of the notes. So I was limited to 3 fingers up and down the fretboard. Not that you can tell, I hope.
You got quite good at that, though. That became a thing for a while, didn't it? Playing like that.
Yeah, And I think we maybe when we came back, I had, for want of a better word, like a massive sausage bandage on my middle finger. And I remember doing a few gigs, and basically it looked like I was just swearing at everybody in the audience because it was this massive white banana on my finger going up and down the fretboard as I was playing.
Giving them the fucking middle finger.
Yeah. So yeah, I had to. You've got to adjust, haven't you? What did they say? Adapt or die. So yeah, I adapted.
The first song on the Red Light EP was One of Me. Straight from the opening, big open song, just from what I remember, it was just a 4 count and bang straight in. Who wrote the lyrics for it, though?
Yeah, I wrote the lyrics. At this point, I'd not long got back from Australia, maybe a year or two beforehand. Like we spoke about earlier, a lot of the songs in Echo came from Grant. You know, he was sort of the song man. He was sort of churning out the songs. So yeah, it gave us all a bit of a go at writing ourselves. I had a bunch of music ideas, and I thought, well, they need to be teamed up with actual lyrics. I originally wrote the song. It was loosely based on Anthony Kiedis from the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and I gave the song name was Anthony. And I remember showing Neil the lyrics, and he's like, "Yeah, I don't really want to use." Did you say you didn't want to use it because it's your dad's name?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
He was like, "It's my dad's name. I don't really want to sing about my dad." Well, not that you don't want to sing about your dad, but
Because originally the chorus was 4 of you, 1 of me. Can't you see I'm Anthony?
yeah,
That was the original lyrics for the chorus.
yeah. And you sort of went, "Well, why do we do
We'll
this?"
change that one.
Yeah, which I don't mind. These are just words that I've written in my bedroom on my own. So that's how that one came about.
I think even Illyria as well on this same EP, were somebody, probably Jack, had written the bare bones of like a first verse and chorus, and then the second verse was, I think I ended up writing lyrics for the second verse, and so there was 3 or 4 songs at that time where the bare bones of the song were written by Jack, and then I kind of contributed a second verse on most of them.
I have no recollection of Illyria writing it.
The music came, I think, as a 5-piece. I'm pretty sure.
That was a jam. Yeah,
it was a jam. But in terms of lyrics, I'm pretty sure, like Neil said, I think Neil, you wrote the lyrics on that one. I'm pretty sure. And
I definitely wrote at least one of the verses. I might have written the first verse as well, but I can't remember.
Because my thought, this could be wrong, but what the song is actually about is about leaving Echo and leaving Grant behind. Because if you look at those lyrics, if you go back and listen to them,
yes,
they sound a bit like that. Like, we're going to leave, we're going to move on and do our own thing. And it's kind of like moving on from something to a new pasture. So we're going to carry on regardless and make this work. That was my interpretation.
Yeah, I think, Neil, that was all you.
Well, there you go. I've managed to forget that, but I certainly remember some of the verses from the chorus. Some of the lyrics from the verses. I definitely remember writing, but yeah, maybe I didn't write the whole thing.
One of the things I remember from writing the music was, like I say, I do remember working on the music in that small basement room, and most of it coming from a jam. But there's a part in the middle where we sort of switch between various chords, and I think I came up with that, and I was influenced at that point by a song by Cake, Short Skirt Long Jacket. There's some sort of passing chords that pass in the same way that they do in the middle section of that song. Oh, and the other thing I did contribute to that song was the name. I gave it its title.
You did.
Yes. We were all like,
yes.
What does that mean, Matt? Please tell us, because I'm not sure what that means. So please inform us now again.
at the time I was reading and learning a lot about Shakespeare, and Illyria was the setting for Twelfth Night, and it was sort of a semi-fictional region in Europe, sort of area where the old Roman Empire stomping ground used to be. It sort of seemed fitting to me at the time that and the meaning behind the song was being about this sort of battleground, if you like, and moving on from the aftermath of a war or a battle or a bit of nastiness. And so yeah, that's how that came about.
And the song's got this like quite cool and response part to it. I don't know if you're in like this kind of the chorusy bit, which I think we were doing quite a bit back then. It was seemed to be a bit on trend back in 2011. You guys remember that?
Yeah, basically it's because no one else could sing apart from Neil, so we sort of had to sort of chant or shout.
Like a football, crowd.
Yeah,
like
a bunch of hooligans.
It works though, I think.
I can remember trying to do that in the recording of Take Me Down, is those shouty backing vocals.
Yeah.
And none of us really sounded angry enough for what. And I remember, I think it was Neil trying to G me up to do these angry backing vocals, and he was saying, imagine Darren trying to steal your girlfriend and how angry you'd be at it. And that's how I managed to get myself angry for these backing vocals.
Thanks, Darren.
I like to do my bit.
Take Me Down wrote itself. The initial riff came up in a jam and the chords went on top of it, the drums, the lyrics. Literally, the song was finished within 15 minutes. We sort of finished playing and went, well, we don't need to change that. That works.
It was at the end of a practice as well, wasn't it? It was like the last 15, 20 minutes of a practice.
Yeah.
And we came out with a new song.
Yeah, I think a lot in the time, well, from my point of view in the band, we use the phrase, just feel it, just feel it, feel the music. And we do that a lot in our writing. When everything feels right, we know it's right. And it's sort of an undefinable thing, but you just know whether it's the music or the lyrics or whether they combine together and fit. And that was definitely one of those moments where we just all felt it. We channeled this energy. It was like lightning in a bottle in 15 minutes. Here we go. Song done.
So the other song on the EP we haven't really spoken about, and it's the biggie on that one, I suppose, is December. This seemed to, from what I remember, it kind of started before I joined or very early on, because I remember one of the very early practices I came along to and it was partly written. Is that right?
I had the music down, but basically I had the song that we didn't really use or I didn't bring to practice, And then when the lyrics arrived, I used that same song, but in reverse. I played the chords backwards in the backwards sequence.
From my recollection, the name of the song is a bit of a misnomer, because you might think it might be about Christmas or something, or like the end of the year. But it was called December because we wrote it in the month of December, and it was the same month that there was a review that came out, which kind of was a bit of almost discouraged us. And yeah, it was a reaction to that review about Neil and Jack. You guys kind of took that on. Do you remember?
Yeah, I remember. I seem to think it was in the Bournemouth Echo, the review of either it might have been some of our early demos or of a live gig, and it wasn't particularly flattering to me specifically and to us in general. And I remember coming off the back of it and saying to Jack, I was like, maybe we're not good enough. Maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe this is just a bit of a flight of fancy, and it's not gonna amount to anything of merit. And Jack's response was basically, maybe, but I'm going to carry on. If you want to leave, see you later, but I'm going to carry on. And so Jack's kind of lyrics for that were very much kind of with that in mind.
You know, we were getting hammered quite early on, and you just thought like, well, give us some time, let us sort of explore a little bit.
For me, the 4 songs on that EP were all quite different to each other. And I can remember coming out of those recording sessions, not really sure of what we were going to do with the EP, what the intention was. I think from what I remember, it was more of a case of, right, we've got these 4 songs, we're just going to use it to show to our friends and family and hopefully get initial gigs with. I don't think there was any real intention of properly releasing and putting that out to the world. It was just more like a showcase, and then from here we'll build up more songs and record properly. But actually, we put it out there and got them printed and got them pressed, and then we sold out that batch, and we got another batch made up, and then I think we had to do another batch and put them on. Eventually, they went up to Spotify and iTunes and made videos, and it, for me, it surpassed anything that I was expecting to do with that EP, which is nice. It just felt like a bunch of songs when we recorded it.
There's a feeling of defiance in all the songs, like of not giving up, of moving on, pushing on regardless of what people have said. You know, like One of Me is setting up this story of one person against a group of people, but you're going to carry on regardless. Illyria is breaking away from a group of people. It's like looking for an idealized world where you're going to find it no matter what. December was written in reaction to that gig, or sorry, that written review, and carrying on regardless. And Take Me Down again is very much musically, I would say, more punky, probably one of the most punky songs we've got, like angriest, energetic, urgent songs. So that's the kind of sort of connective theme, I think, if you will, runs through the record, which might sound like a lot of bullspit, but it's sort of, I think it does kind of hold together.
I agree. I mean, I think it's interesting how you can not consciously make a decision like that, because I don't remember any of us sitting down together and saying, all these these songs that we're making, or this record that we're recording, we want it to say this about us. We want it to say that we're moving on from something. But it's interesting to see, with hindsight and reflection, that there's a very consistent theme or a motivation behind a lot of those early songs. Even some of the songs that didn't make the cut for the EP, like Make Your Move, was again another one that was very much about traveling in that direction forward and not looking behind. So it's interesting that without even consciously making that decision, that's how they all kind of fell into line.
And I think it's a very youthful record. It's, you know, it does sound like young guys in a room making music, not overthinking stuff. Because we were just going with the flow. We're just like, this is cool. Yeah, let's make this. Just not overcooking it, overthinking it, and especially as how Take Me Down came around. Darren, could I just ask how you feel about the drums that are recorded on the record? Because later records, I think they feel a lot better, and your performance is obviously better because you're more experienced. But how do you feel about on this record?
Listening back now, like, I didn't really know any better. I just thought, yeah, like, that sounds like a snare hit. That sounds like a bass drum. I wasn't really in the frame of mind, like, oh, like, I want the snare to be this sound, or basically, like Neil was saying, I didn't know what I was doing. I was just playing drums, but all I knew was they were just being mic'd up, and I thought that'd be the end of it. Never really heard of like mixing, mastering, anything like that. So yeah, so looking back now, yeah, you know, there's definitely things I would want to have changed or done. Obviously, being the drummer, there's little things that I can hear, little things that I like. There's loads of mistakes I've made. You probably won't notice it, but there's so many things on that. I'm just like sort of like duff hits, or the hi hats are opening at the wrong time. Yeah, but you know, as for our first EP, you know, I wouldn't say they're rubbish in regards to the drum sound, but they're pretty good.
Right, I've got another question for you guys.
Oh yeah.
It is red light related. Okay, who can tell me how long the total runtime of red light is?
Ooh, I reckon 12 minutes 31.
Neil's going 12 minutes 31.
I'm going to go 13:13.
13:13.
Oh, mine's 13:38.
Tom?
Well, I know it's 13 something, and I can't remember the second, so let's just say 13:19. Go in the middle.
Oh, Matthew
Matthew has won it again, 2 weeks in a row. It's 13:11.
Well
What
done.
did you say, Matt?
13:13.
Oh,
Matt's winning this weekly competition that we're going to be doing.
I keep going first. I keep giving myself a disadvantage. I keep setting the benchmark for everybody.
Yeah, everyone's got that. Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah, you don't know what you're on about.
Hold your horses, Neil.
So, well done, Matthew. Well done, Matthew.
Right, quick last question before we wrap up. Favorite track on the Red Light EP? Go, Jack.
I'd have to say December for the way it turned out, and for me, you know, sitting there and writing the song and how it turned out from, you know, me sitting in my bedroom putting these chords and lyrics together to having a orchestral arrangement on the top.
Okay, thank you. Neil?
For me, it's December as well. Similar kind of reasons, but just probably more so the fact that it started with such a negative situation, which obviously turned into a great song. It was the first music video we did as well. Yeah, just everything about it made me kind of think, oh, we might have something here as a band.
Cool. Tom?
I'm going to say the first track, One of Me. It's simple in the best possible way. It's just a lot of fun to play. It's kind of just breezes past. It's just a simple, great little song. Yeah, I love it the way it opens the EP.
Cool. And Darren?
Really simple. Mine would be Take Me Down. As I mentioned before, I quite like playing fast. I like the high tempo, energetic songs. I remember that one was quite easy to record. Very good fun.
Cool. For me, I think it would be One of Me. I think that it helped us establish our name as a live band quite early on. It was a really high energy one to perform live. It was quite easy to get the crowd on side with that one. And yeah, it helped those early gigs along really nicely. So I always enjoyed playing it live, and I think it was a great opener for that EP. So that's pretty much all the early days covered now, I think. Unless, of course, any listeners out there have any questions or comments, drop in the comments sections, and we'll pick those. I guess we'll pick those up next time. Next time, what are we going to be talking about? I guess it's the run up to Sparks in the Dark.
Yeah, I think EP2, Sparks in the Dark. About a time up in London recording that.
Yep. So if anyone has any particularly fond memories of that era and us dressing up in pink for your viewing pleasure or dancing around to tornadoes or anything stupid like that, let us know, and we'll answer any questions next time we're recording. So yeah, until then, thanks for listening. Stay inside, stay safe, and be good to each other.
Stay gold.
Stay gold.
Stay connected.
Ciao.